Is there a chance then she stays in the Republican primary race but runs as an independent, so there's a three-way race?
Not really. It's really hard to do in this country. It's not impossible, but many of the states, for example, have what we call sore loser laws, which essentially says if you run in a primary under one party, you can't run again in another party's under another party's ticket in the general election. So, for example, in South Carolina, she would not allow to be on the ballot in November of 2024.
Mm.
So it's really hard to be a third party. It's especially hard to be a third party if you've already run as a Democrat or Republican, as Nikki has.
What are the Democrats doing? I mean, is Joe Biden going to be their guy, or are there contingency plans going on behind the scenes, Mick?
Yeah, I've got about 5 or 6 steak dinner bets out with my Democrat friends who swear to be up and down. It's going to be Joe Biden and Kamala
Why?
Harris all
Why?
November.
Why do they argue that, and why are they so hell bent on making him their guy still?
Laura, it's a fair question. Here's the answer. It's the neatest or the least sloppy, least messy thing they have. Yes, is it terrible? Is it awful? Is he too old for the job? Do people think he's too old for the job?
Yeah.
Yes, he is. But he is the incumbent president of the United States. And if they pick anybody else, then they have to explain why they're not picking 5 or 6 of the other people. So it's a very, very messy situation for the Democrats. It's almost like they've thrown their hands up and say it's Biden or nothing. And it looks like it is Biden or nothing for them.
So going to the election with Biden and a likely loss is better than upsetting Kamala?
Well, they think that as long as Trump is on the other side of the equation, they have a chance to win. And that's right. The way it works out, you and I talked about this. The only Democrat who can lose to Donald Trump is Joe Biden, and the only Republican that can lose to Joe Biden is Donald Trump. So both parties have sort of gone out with their weakest candidate, but they're both with their weakest candidate. So they're going to try and win a very, very tight election in November. It will come down to the same 5 or 6 states it has for the last couple of elections.
Well, I guess.
But don't count.
Yeah.
Don't count.
No, absolutely not. Sorry to interrupt you there, Mick, but I guess there's so many legal concerns with Donald Trump, and if he does get some convictions in an election year, perhaps Joe Biden thinks that will benefit him, and perhaps even Nikki Haley thinks so to an extent too.
Yeah, there's certainly data that says it helps Joe Biden, that as many as a third of Republican voters say they just won't be able to vote for Trump if he's a convicted felon. So that certainly would help Joe Biden if Donald Trump does get convicted. It's not going to help Nikki Haley because the way our primary system works here is they go by delegates. Donald Trump, for example, won 47 of the 50 delegates in South Carolina over the weekend. They are his. They're his people. And even if he's in jail, they're still going to be nominating him at the Republican convention to be the Republican candidate. So I don't think Trump going to jail helps Nikki Haley. It does help Joe Biden. But my guess is, Laura, unless I'm missing something really, really major, Donald Trump is going to be the Republican nominee for president of the United States of America later this month.
No, I don't think you're missing anything, Mick Mulvaney. You never do. Great to talk to you. See you next week.
Thanks, Laura.